According to Abraham Joshua Heschel, to pray is to take notice of the wonder. Prayer is our humble answer to the inconceivable surprise of living. I love Judaism's use of prayer, blessings, and ritual for even the most mundane things. For washing up one's hands, for waking up in the morning. It reminds us that all of these things are important. Everyone is B'Tselem Elohim, or in the image of God. And everything and everyone is important to that mystery that animates all beings.
Shar Zahav started in the 70s by 3 gay men who wanted a place to pray. Shar Zahav is located in the Mission District, and it has a school, and it has a great, really one of the most diverse communities I've ever been involved in. And really welcoming, and at the same time, really focused on core Jewish values of repairing the world and teaching and learning. And I've really discovered that Judaism is a very rich tradition about conversion. In fact, one of the heroines in the Bible, Ruth, is a convert, and she's, the great-grandmother of King David.
I think it is complicated because I would like for those things to be totally intertwined. Like, I would like to have a religious community that is open to and understanding of my sexuality and my relationships, things like that. But it also has to be one that speaks to me deeply on a spiritual level. So those things don't always interconnect. So it's interesting too in the ways in which the search for that or the need for that spiritual connection can lead me to, has probably expanded my group of people that I interact with more outside of the queer community than I ever probably would have if I was not needing that or seeking that.
Walking this journey to chosenness is really powerful. I've chosen many things in my life. I almost converted to Greek Orthodoxy in my 20s, to Islam in my 30s. I didn't feel like I had to convert to Buddhism for my 40s and much of my 50s, but that was my journey. At some point I came back, but I work with people who started out in other places and chose to be Jewish, and that to me is really moving. And many of the people that I've met and worked with are actually transitioning and converting at the same time. There's this notion for some people that you're absolutely recreating yourself.
My conversion was a lot like transition with its gatekeepers or social or medical or legal aspects. It was a big trip, how similar they were. And the big team was inside an office in the mikveh or ritual bath, where I eventually immersed in living water, said some blessings, and came out Jewish.
When I was in the water, that part, with my friend Jonathan, was the observer, the shomer, and he's another Jew by choice, black Jewish, trans Jew by choice. So, I had him there watching. It's like, whoa, Jonathan's here watching, and he yelled kosher,
I can imagine that in my head.
And it was just like, well, this is just, and I didn't want to get out.
Yeah.
I was just under there for a lot longer than I had to be, and they were singing outside the mikvah, and it was just the blast of all blasts to be there with all of them.
And the mikvah and the Hatafat Damrit were very physical experiences. I wanted to not just convert mentally and spiritually and emotionally, but physically convert to Judaism. The mikvah was actually a very spiritual experience, and it took a while to sink in. Probably because the day I did the mikvah was also the day of the big din, and my nerves were kind of racked, and I was nervous about the process. It was weeks after that I realized that was a really spiritual experience. And I remember when I was under the water, I opened my eyes because the water is supposed to envelop you altogether, and I think opening my eyes to the water would make me see things in a Jewish way in my mind. That's how I felt about it. So it was very spiritual, and I'm glad I did it. And the Hatafat Damrit was also, it's a very stressful experience, but I'm also glad I did it. It gave me a sense of authenticity about the process, physically feeling conversion. So I'm glad I did that too.
I myself crying a little bit about it. It felt great. You know.
And your 2 boys went in with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually what also made it meaningful. I'm not saying that it wouldn't be meaningful by myself, but I had the 2 boys doing it at the same time. And afterwards, it was so funny too because Shai goes, "Oh, you're a Jew now." So which just like it wasn't like I wasn't popular or anything, but it was like, "You're a Jew now. You're really part of us." And that also made it really great.
And during my conversion process, I actually went around to different synagogues and just to experience what it's like to be in another different synagogue. But it really matters in a big way to identify with the community. The ritual is one thing, but having people and faces behind it is another thing.
Once I found out there's some trans thing going on here, and I'm growing up in the Jewish neighborhood, I can go to shul. And plus, I can learn how to translate the Bible for myself, read it for myself, and figure out what the Bible readers are trying to say.
Verses that concern me as a pious Jewish queen. So I went into God's garden, which would surely make it clear.
It was Hanukkah, just a few days after I got back from my trip to visit my mother, and I came into Shahar Zahav. I had called Andrew and said, "Well, can I come with you to services?" And he said, "Oh yes, bring a menorah, it'll be great, and there's lots of kids and candles." And so I came, and as I was filling out my name tag, Andrew rushed down the stairs and said, "No, I want to write your name tag." And so he wrote Jim Van Bernstein. And I still have the little paper label that he made for me, and so I just was so happy. And when I came to services, I thought, well, maybe now that I'm a Jew, I'll feel a little less like an interloper, and I will be less uncomfortable with not knowing the songs or the blessings or the rituals. And that was only true a tiny little bit. I felt like, okay, well, there's a reason I'm here. I'm not completely crazy.
So in some ways, it's marvelous. This is my group. When I walk into this building, I feel like, oh, I'm at home. All kinds of people here drive me crazy, and I drive them even more crazy, but this is my family. And so for queer people, who so often, and hopefully less and less in time, but so often disconnected from our families of origin, because we're rejected, because we're excommunicated, because we have to leave, because we're closeted, because we must move to the other side of the continent to fulfill who we know we are, but we can never tell our family. Something happens when you step into a faith community and you're welcomed and you make a choice that is marvelous and is transformative and is healing.
I had sort of an epiphany during that service, imagining similar services all over the world throughout time, and this one being seeing families of whatever creation, people of every gender, people of every race, young, old, I don't know how many generations, and everybody was singing and laughing and dancing and lighting candles, and I just thought, wow, this is the future.